I didn't know it was inlet that way too. And you've read up to on you. Woo! As soon as they bring them up personal.
Whoa!
As a striker.
Oh, that's cool. Now you know that.
Somebody does a double take. That's not your 75. Light introduction to the gun.
Novelty targets or something like that.
Then the weather warmed up enough, we could take her outside, and then it got cold again.
Yeah, it's our dogs. They'll go out, but
Detachment! Got mine now. Whoa! Hey, let's go right here.
Why have you come to the fort?
To trade. We have a musket that we need cut down. It's too long to go through the woods.
Bonjour. Oui. 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 Bon, oui. Très bien. D'accord.
Stick this back.
Merci. Fini au port.
Poste.
Pardon? Camp.
Can you tell us why you have come? What is it you need? What is it your French fathers may do for you? Janina, Molly Wobum, Katapatawaki, Toki Pie, Washikushia, Tukami Toki, Pikawilin, Nito Shona, Koshake, Hapuena.
We understand, since you have abandoned the English at Pickwillany and come back to your French, that you are in need of the things they used to give you, and we can provide those for you. We have many blankets. You need blankets. We will see you well stocked with blankets. We have extra quarters in the fort this winter. We will give you quarters until the spring if you need. We will see to all your needs. We will take you to the trading post and look at your furs and give you the goods that you and your families will be needing for the winter.
Eh?
Very good. So that's, you kindly escort Monsieur Horgan and the Sauvage to the trade post so they may conduct their business.
So just to bring them a parcel of goods here.
Merci.
So this is the bundle.
We're gonna have to. Avez-vous Castor?
Castor.
Nick?
This for him. I think this meant something.
There you go. Castet?
He wants stuff for all the children.
Yeah, he does.
Trade with you.
He wants to trade.
I know what this man wants. He said it right there.
Okay. Merci.
He wants to trade with me. There's an axe here. And bartering.
Merci.
Service and rendered. And then let's turn this off. That's the one that's kind of part of it. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, no. I have no idea because I just work here. It's absorbed into this.
Everything I ever did. So, got all the, I believe some of the stuff is, yeah.
go. Caribbean. Caribbean. You love a boot. Quoi?
Side, you want that table out there?
Yes. Yes, please.
Is everybody happy? Ready? It's on. Minute now.
Flip it up and I'm going to cut the stock back. Walks on that.
almost done now.
I didn't see any tears.
I had they froze.
We're le sauvage.
Well, you know something? So you've seen a French colonial circumcision done in the middle of winter.
The only kind of good circumcision.
She done been castrated.
Is yours next?
No. Ah!
Get you.
Where's that barrel go? Get you.
In the gut box.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. How?
I need to get about
45 minutes to an hour's worth of photos with you out here. You stay at home?
Yeah. I work outside. I think Rick said this is going to be a last too.
Told me.
Unless somebody's paying the next time. The first one's free.
I keep a piece of barrel.
Oh, I am, absolutely.
Keep a piece of barrel with it.
Absolutely. No, that's part of my talk now. When I do my talk on
Yeah, because then you've got the sight.
Right.
The fact there was no sight. I don't know if anybody timed this. It couldn't have been more than half an hour.
No,
not
it
even.
wasn't even 15 minutes.
It wasn't right at all.
We just went upstairs and went up to warm up the
last
clothes.
night, and I had my hiker hogs with his ankle hogs. I had to go like this. Why?
C'était la fusil. Chargez! Up! Up, take! On you! Woo! Sometimes magic works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, I won the summer. I like do the same thing I shot at.
Last year we did
Really an ugly gun. It been sitting on the bench for.
Uh-huh.
In the corner in the shop actually, the barrel was of wood. The barrel had more feet. The barrel was bent. I didn't know it was inlet that way too. And you've read the documentation.
Fantastic.
Is it all made?
Well, last year she tried to go paleo. You know, that's the primitive, really primitive skills. But you just can't do the same thing every year. Irish hunting.
I was reading in LaSalle's history about on his last fateful trip, he brought back a case of forks, and they were trading them to the natives. Well, the natives didn't know what the hell to do with them, so they were wearing them around their neck like a pendant. So we found a fork in a dig, and we gave it to one of our natives. Right.
How do you prepare for this kind of weather in this your life?
Well, I'm a Coeur d'Bois, an unlicensed trader. I was hired to bring trade goods from Fort St. Joseph by Niles, Michigan to Fort Miami. Being a Coeur d'Bois, I live in two worlds. I live amongst the French part of the year, and I live amongst the natives the other part of the year. The Coeur d'Bois married into the tribes and gained their trust, and we adapted to their lifestyle as much as they adapted to ours. So I have a combination of European and native things going on. I've got my soulière de boeuf, which is a standard French winter mock. Wool leggings. The wool will stay warm even when it's wet. And it'll dry quicker than leather. If I was busting brush in the summertime, I'd wear buckskin leggings, but this time of year, I want the wool. I am wearing a loincloth in native fashion. It's easier to get in and out of canoes. Not that we're canoeing today, but it's just the fashion. And I have two shirts on, my waistcoat and my capot and my tappa board, which is the tappa board dates back to the 1600s, and it was used right on through the 1900s. So it's I should actually have the ear flaps down today, but I'm, like I said, stepping in my office, stabbing the food and then put it in their mouth. They pick the food up, stick it on the fork, and then put it in their mouth.
You're gonna have to do that.
I need
a fork, and I can wear it around my neck, and then when I go to bed.
You've got a story. And when people say, "Why are you doing that?" you can explain it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
that is awesome. And that's the same premise of cutting the gun down. You know, until you show people, they don't grasp the concept. You can tell them about it because, like, in every archaeological dig where there was a blacksmith, you're going to find pieces of barrel. So that was just that was the logical gun to cut then. They found a barrel piece at Fort St. Joseph last year.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I got there and the students are like, "Yeah, we found this pistol barrel." And I'm like, "Yeah, I bet not."
Wow,
Says, no, that's been cut off.
That is great.
That's been cut. And every major fort, I'm sure if they did archaeology at the Fort Miami site, they'd find barrel scraps. But I know they did it at Mackinac. You know, it's common. It's common. You know, and a lot of the, I study the original French guns, and on a lot of the guns, they had what's called a sighting flat. You can see a very faint flat going up the barrel, and it typically stops at the front sight. So you can tell if a gun's been cut off or not. If that flat comes to the end of the barrel, that gun's been shortened. See, it's round, completely round from the front sight to the muzzle. There's no flat there. So when you find these original French guns and they have a flat going to the muzzle of the gun, that gun's been cut. So it's very, very common. The standard French gun had what is called a 4-pied barrel, which is a 51 1/4 inch barrel. That's exactly what I put on this gun. That's a 4-pied barrel. And a lot of times you'll see them cut down. A lot of times. But
what is the wood of the brown in the far corner?
this one?
Yes, it's beautiful.
That's cherry.
Cherry.
Yep, that's cherry. The French were exporting cherry from this continent by 1730 for gun stocks.
Well, isn't that a softwood?
No, no.
Oh, it's a hardwood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, that was a very nice piece of cherry that I was saving for a fusee, and then when I was building this gun, I needed a piece of wood that was big enough to handle it, and that was the only piece that I had that was dry that was big enough. So I ended up forfeiting it for this gun.
Now, is that the ember flint block?
Yep, that's got a French amber flint in it.
Does that come from chalk quarries?
Yeah.
Like British flint?
Yeah. It does. Hi.
But France had chalk quarries?
I'm sure they did. They had their own flints, so they had to have quarries. I don't know if I've got a gun here with a English flint or not. So far.
And you said that
there's one.
the black flints
That's
are the best?
that's an English flint. That's black.
Okay, those are the best.
Well,
Better than gray.
they're better than gray.
And those are British flint.
That's an English flint.
English flint.
Yep.
Amber is French?
Amber is French.
The flint that strikes the thing when you...
Yeah, the flint comes down and strikes the frizzen, creating a spark. It's actually literally shaving metal, minute pieces of metal. That's what the spark is. That will ignite the powder in the pan.
Yes.
Once that flash happens, there's a hole in the side of the gun called a touch hole. And that flash will transfer through that small hole and ignite the main charge of powder that's behind the ball. When that explosion happens, it forces the ball out the muzzle.
Is that the expression flash in a pan?
What flash in the pan is when the powder in the pan goes off and it fails to ignite the main powder charge.
Okay.
So
And the main powder charge, is that inside the gun?
That's inside the gun. When you load a gun, you pour your powder down,
Right.
and then you put your ball down, you take your rammer out, you must push the ball all the way down. You cannot have a gap of air between the powder and the ball, or you can burst your barrel.
Okay.
Is that what they call it?
Or bell the barrel, yeah.
Now, is there a danger when you ram the ball down? Was there ever a danger that the gun would go off?
Actually, it can happen. It doesn't very often happen, but it can happen. If you have a hot ember down, if you've already previously fired the gun,
Yes.
and you're loading in a hurry,
Yes.
you can have a hot ember down there. And it usually happens when you're pushing the ball down, because what you're doing is compressing the air
Yes.
as you push the ball down. That'll ignite that. And I've heard it happening once in my lifetime. guy was pushing the ramrod. That's why you never want to put your hand on the end of the ramrod like this when you're pushing the ball down. Because if it goes off, you're going to have a place in the Easter parade.
Otherwise, you just lose some fingers.
Right, if you're pushing it down this way, it'll just
Go up.
go right up and hopefully miss your appendages.
Interesting. Now, were different flints better? You were talking about the different types of flints. Were some superior to others?
The English had a gray flint and a black flint. The black flints are better than the gray flints. The French had amber flints. I prefer them. That's got a nice amber flint in it. They both do a fine job.
So it's a difference in color.
It's a difference in color, and a lot of times the way that they were napped with when there's a pressure striking when they make these flints out of a piece of rock, and the English had them sharpen basically the front and the back. The French, they rounded the back and they were more blunt on the back. So that's an easy way to tell too if it's a French or an English flint.
So the English can turn the flint around and use
Sometimes,
both sides.
sometimes you
Can
can.
only use one?
Well, a lot of times they just get short when you keep napping them. If they get dull, what's called napping, you're knocking that sharp edge back onto the flint. And once it gets so short, you don't have enough to clamp in the jaws. So when they get too short, you just...
Chuck 'em.
I don't. I keep them. I size them down for other guns.
Is the flint made of the same material like when you're trying to start a fire and you're trying to
Yeah.
strike
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
This is actually a
striking
flint
strikeable
for my
flint,
wall gun.
but it's
Whoa.
limestone?
limestone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a flint for my wall gun, but it'll double as a striker.
Oh, that's cool. Now, you know they sell in Mac.
What you would do is you would have a piece of charred cloth or a piece of fire fungus, anything that would catch a spark. Once you have your spark, then you can blow on it and make it hotter and causing, you can get some tow or even some dry leaves sometimes, inner bark, basswood bark, or cedar bark, inner bark. And you blow it into that, and it'll burst right into flames. And once you have it flame, then you can get your wood started.
So how did you stay warm? What do you got on?
I have, starting at the bottom, I have my soulier de boeuf. This is the winter mock. I have on wool stockings, and I have wool leggings. Wool is warm. Wool will stay warm when it's wet. In traveling by canoe, you want to wear a lot of wool. Then I have on 2 shirts. One hemp shirt and one wool shirt, a loincloth, a wool loincloth. The shirts came down to your knees.
There's central air conditioning under there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then I have on my vest and then my capote.
What's the purpose of the vest? Just another layer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't leave without my vest. I wouldn't. I wear them in the summertime.
So the hemp layers first,
The hemp layers first.
because it's not itchy?
Right.
Right, because I could see the wool just
Right.
making me crazy.
Well, it's a soft wool. It's not real coarse, but it's a real comfort this time of year. But yeah, I mean I've virtually got wool from head to toe.
And then how about the hat?
Hat. That's a tapaboard.
Is that French?
Yep. Yep. And then, well, everyone wants to take claim to the tapaboard, and that you'll find it in trade documents under a vast array of different names. I've seen it printed as the deerstalker cap, a chapeau anglaise, which is a English hat,
in French.
and tapaboard. The French sailors were wearing them. You can untie the ear flaps.
Looks like animal skin.
Well, this one is. This one happens to be brain tanned on the outside, and then it's wool lined. But then on a day like this, you could bring the ear flaps down and tie it under your chin and let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
So the flaps are, wool.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. But I made my hat out of brain tan. That way it's wind resistant.
What is brain tan?
It's a deer skin, and brain tanning is the style in which they tanned the hide. They would take the animal's brains out of the skull, and they would massage it into the hide, and then break the hide, and it would make the hide soft.
Because there's a lot of fat in the brain
Right,
tissue.
right. That is correct. That is exactly correct. And the grease and the oils would penetrate the hide, and then the final step would be to smoke the hide, which makes it water resistant. Yep.
And it keeps it pliable and flexible.
Right. Yeah, it won't get hard and brittle when it gets wet then. So that's how the natives basically treated everything, was to smoke it. And if you've ever been in a native lodge, you'd be hovering about this far from the ground because the smoke would be from there up.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow, you're kidding.
No, I had to make the blade. I had to take a modern blade and shorten it.
Totally forgot.
That is an original hacksaw.
That's an original hacksaw.
Oh, that is too cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I contacted Tom on this project last spring, and I've got a lot of time and effort into cutting down on my own guns. But I've collected 18th century tools to do the job. There's the piece that we cut off.
Right period tool for the job.
There's that's a scraper that I already had. But these are some of the files. Files haven't changed much in the last couple hundred years. Files are files are files. That simply has not changed. But I bought 18th century screwdrivers. I'm looking for the cutter for this. I just have to take everything else. It's not what I'm looking for. Oh, it's in there. Yeah, I got that off eBay also. That was to chamfer the muzzle after I'd cut it off to crown the barrel. I had the brace, and it's just friction fit. It's just in there, and you just push on the end of the barrel, and you crown the barrel. Then I filed the outside of it, and that's the piece that we cut off.
So describe the gun and how you built it, you know, before you performed the modification.
The gun that we shortened is a 1701 fusil boucanier. It's a French buccaneer. It was a naval piece. This one's brass mounted, so it would be a naval piece. They brass mounted them so the salt water didn't eat at the hardware. Typically, the fusil boucanier were made with 52 to 60-inch barrels. They were a very long barrel. They were used for sniping the quarterdecks of opposing ships from the rigging of French ships. This one had a 60-inch barrel. It was kind of unwieldy. Our native came in complaining that his gun was too long. He couldn't get through the woods with it very well, and asked if we wouldn't shorten it. And in all the archaeological digs, they find sections of barrel. So we just took and, with a hacksaw, we took the ramrod out, we cut the gun off, and then after we had it cut off, we cut the stock back so you can get at the end of the ramrod, and then reshaped it and scraped it down, and then finally we, after we recrowned the barrel, we shortened the ramrod so it would be the appropriate length for the gun. We still have a gun that has a 50-inch barrel, but yeah, there was a few tears shed over this, but this too shall pass. I made this gun last March. I started it on a Monday and I finished it on Friday. So.
When you say you made it, you modified it? Or
No, I made it.
You made the whole thing?
I made the barrel, I made the gun, I made the ramrod end. Yeah, all these guns I've built.
So do you have a lathe to do that?
Yeah.
How would they make them back then? Would they just hammer them out with?
The barrels were hand forged, but that was not the best way to do it. They were forged over a mandrel. The problem being they didn't always get a good weld on the barrels, and they had up to 50% of loss on these barrels if they proofed them. To proof them, they would double charge them. And they would have all these barrels lined up behind a wall, and they would light a fuse, and it would, you know, either expend the load or burst the barrel. Some of the poorer grade of guns were not proofed, and they were shipped over here, and the poor natives were complaining that the guns that they traded many beaver furs for were bursting and maiming them. Not good customer relations. So, but this would have been a proofed barrel on this gun had it been an 18th century piece because it was a military piece. But they were also taken inland and traded to the natives. We see a lot of 18th century drawings and paintings of natives carrying le fusil boucanier. The term boucanier it comes from the French owned a number of the islands in the Atlantic, and on these islands were wild hogs. And they would hunt these wild hogs, and the only way they had to preserve the meat was to smoke the meat, or to boucan the meat. So the hunters became known as les boucaniers, and their long firearms that they took off the ships that brought them there became known as le fusil boucanier.
Now, is the idea behind the long barrel that it increased their accuracy for long distance shooting?
It did that, and also the powder that they were issued in the 18th century was not a graded powder like we have today. Today we go to the store, we buy 1F, 2F, 3F, it depends on the size of the granulation. In the 18th century, you got a Kago powder. You didn't know what you were getting. The longer the barrel, the better chance, if you've got a big coarse powder, that the longer the barrel, the better chance you have of burning all of your charge. So that was the second reason. But yes, the guns with the longer barrels, they definitely have a distinct sighting advantage. This one has a 60-inch barrel also. This is how long that gun was. And it's a very accurate gun. It's one of my favorite ones to shoot.
So how accurate would it be?
Like at 25 yards, I can put 5 shots in a group that big, offhand.
Was the one that was European walnut, was that one yours?
No, that was Alex's.
Ah.
That was Alex's.
That was beautiful wood.
Yep, it is. It's just very expensive.
Now, if you were in the French, like you were sent over here with the, like French and Indian War and all that stuff, how long were their rifles, and how fast in general would it take them to reload those?
Okay, rifles were very scarce in the French and Indian War. The rifle the term rifle that they had guns with rifling. Rifling is a twist inside the barrel.
So it makes it go straighter.
They came into vogue during the American Revolution.
Okay.
But I can load. I get 3 shots off in a minute with my fusil, with the way that I have my gear set up, because I have my powder horn that has a thumb latch on it, and I have my powder measure. You never want to pour directly from your powder container. We were talking earlier about a spark being down there. Well, if that spark ignited when you were pouring from your powder container, that would flash up and you'd have a hand grenade right there about head high. So that's real inconvenient. So you pour your powder into your measure, that way you have the same amount of powder every time, and then pour that down, and then I just drop it because it's hanging from a lanyard, and then I have a block called a loading block, which I'll have my round already in that block in a piece of cloth. I short start it, and then I run the ball down with a ramrod. Then I have my primer hanging around my neck. So I just prime the pan, drop that, boom. And I can actually do it quicker than I can tell you about doing it.